Recently, creationist Ray Comfort posted a bunch of questions about the evolution of the chicken on his Facebook page. I'm not the guy who was originally asking, but I thought I'd give them a go. When did it evolve eyes, and up to that time, how did it see? Well, the creatures that evolved eyes came about millions of years before the chickens. Their ancestors had eyes that developed from light-sensitive skin, which became more and more specialized and refined over the generations. As organisms developed, most kept their vision, with some tweaks of course, but the basic idea was kept the same. In fact, the current theory is that eyes have developed at least 5 separate times in different creatures. And it goes without saying that before eyes were developed, creatures couldn't see. Not every organism has the same sense as we do. It would be the same as insects asking how we could survive without seeing the ultraviolet range of the color spectrum. We don't need to. This, of course, assumes that bugs are able to create such abstract thoughts and communicate them with us. When did it evolve lungs? What we call lungs developed out of the swim bladder when the first multicellular creatures started emigrating to the land. The structure that helped fish swim was transformed into something that could help these new creatures breathe. They evolved about 375 million years ago, approximately the same time land-based creatures started showing up. I wonder, is there some kind of connection there? Now, lungs developed slowly. Well, slowly to our point of view, fairly rapidly on a geologically based scale, as animals started moving to the land to escape predators. The ones that could stay on land longer had a better chance to survive, until their physiology changed enough that they could only live while breathing air instead of taking it from the water. Did it breath before it had lungs? I assume you mean breathe. Well, the precursors to the land animals would have had gills to let them breathe while in the water. You may have noticed if you take a fish out of water, it will thrash a lot before dying. I should know, that happened to my goldfish when I tried to take it for a walk. That's because it has adapted to get its oxygen from the water and can't breathe outside of it. If it didn't, why did the lungs evolve if it was doing just fine? Its ancestors were breathing water, which is decent enough for water-based animals, but ones that became land-based needed a way to get oxygen out of the atmosphere, hence the development of lungs. Almost as if the creatures that adapted to thrive better were able to pass on their genes, some kind of survival based on the fitness of the organism to its environment. When did air evolve with the right mixture of oxygen to sustain its life? Air did not evolve to sustain life. Animals evolved to get what they needed from the air. Organisms adapt to exploit what is readily available in the environment, and the environment does not change to suit the animals. Oxygen is actually a metabolic poison, a corrosive gas like fluorine. When oxygen was first produced as a waste product by certain plant cells some 3 billion years ago, it created a crisis for all life on Earth. These plants were polluting the environment, exhaling a lethal gas. Earth eventually had an atmosphere incompatible with life. Nevertheless, life on Earth... These plants were polluting the environment, exhaling a lethal gas. Earth eventually had an atmosphere incompatible with life. Nevertheless, life on Earth took care of itself. No, I didn't write that. It's from some old science fiction book about cloned dinosaurs. I doubt anyone ever heard of it. Really? Movie? Over 1 billion in theaters? 3 sequels? That dumpy guy from Parks and Rec and Action Star? Anyway, life forms were able to take something abundant in the atmosphere and adapt to their body, so they were able to use it and thrive. Air did not evolve for life, life evolved to use the air. When did the brain evolve so that it could think, and therefore eat food to sustain its life? I'm going to tackle this in reverse order. First, you don't need a brain to eat food. Single-celled organisms, and even some multicellular ones, do not have what is considered to be a brain. They are still able to take nutrients from around them. Second, the brain developed, like everything else, slowly. As multicellular creatures became larger, ones that had different body parts respond to outside stimuli developed a response center, something that would direct the organism to control the body and react to what was going on around it. The larger the creature got, the more control was needed, and the more sophisticated the brain became. When, how, and why did the food that it ate evolve? Since we're talking about domesticated chickens, most of them eat feed consisting of grains and seeds, as well as any bugs they can find. Grains and seeds evolved as a way for plants to safely spread their genetic information. A hardy seed has a better chance to get itself implanted in the soil so it can sprout. The chickens will be fed these seeds before it has a chance to grow, the chicken taking nutrients from the seed while it digests it. When did it get an instinct to drink water? Animals that are living in the water obviously do not need to do much to get water. It's always around them, so their bodies adapted to use the water around them for their own functions. As the chicken's ancestors spent more and more time out of the water, their bodies needed that liquid, and the ones that developed an instinct to drink it were able to thrive. The ones that did not have that instinct either died of thirst or were not able to leave the water. When and why did water evolve?
Idiot.
Like oxygen, water did not evolve in any kind of genetic sense. Organisms evolved to take advantage of water because their ancestors evolved within it, not the other way around. The same questions apply for the pre-rooster. Did it evolve into a bird around the same time as the hen? Yes, they evolved together. Not just one animal was the first chicken. Species slowly evolve over time. So as the ancestors of the chicken, both male and female, evolved, the species changed. The genetic changes in individuals were passed on to the species as a group. So the roosters and hens evolved together over time. Why did it evolve? Why did the rooster involve itself with the chicken? Again, I assume you mean evolve. The rooster and hen evolved because changes to an individual that make it better fit for survival are passed on to the group as a whole via their descendants. This is what natural selection is all about. Small changes over time that add up to a new species. Did the process take millions of years? How did the creature reproduce in the meantime? How long was its lifespan if the process took millions of years? Alright, first off, you're selling yourself short. The evolutionary process has taken billions and billions... Hang on. The evolutionary process has taken billions and billions of years. From the first self-replicating RNA to the current chicken, life has been evolving non-stop. Speciation does not occur at the individual level, so it does not make any sense to ask how the creature could reproduce in the meantime. A creature will be born with a slight change, but will be able to breed with the same members of its species, passing on that change. When the changes have accumulated enough so that members of one group are no longer able to breed with others, we say speciation has occurred. It does not matter what the lifespan of an individual member is, since speciation happens on the group level. The length of the life of a single member will not make a difference on how a species evolves, as long as it's able to pass its genes on. There are a few other questions about what evolved first. Its heart, blood, or blood vessels. How did the heart work if there is no blood or blood vessels? All of these developed in conjunction with each other. Early multicellular creatures had fluids that were not quite blood, but were important to the organism. As that proto-blood got more important, a pump was needed to move that fluid around. As the fluid was moving around, it got more specialized, and the pump became more important. As the organism got larger, it needed to get that blood further and further around the organism, so a specialized system of moving the blood developed as well. So all things, heart, blood, and vessels, developed over time, eventually working together to become the circulatory system. I'm sure Aaron, like most believers in Darwinian evolution, will say these questions show I don't understand evolution. That would be true. Nobody does. Well, you're half right. You don't understand evolution at all. Your misconceptions and blatant obtuseness attest to that. But anybody who wants to take the time and learn about it will be able to understand it. The fact that I've seen you ask these questions over and over again without trying to understand the answers tells me you simply don't want to know. That's both sad and ignorant. Alright, another one recorded. Now just editing and thinking of a title. No, we can't call it that. It'll seem like we're calling him a chicken, and we definitely aren't. That's just the laziest kind of clickbait ever. We're not going to call it that.